Since 1924, City Union Mission has provided a place of hope for the homeless and downtrodden of Kansas City. Hi, I'm Mission Executive Director Dan Doty. This year, in conjunction with the annual Bikers with a Mission Run for the Homeless benefit ride, I'm on a journey to visit sites that mark milestones in the mission's history. Won't you join me? Imagine City Union Mission's founder, Dave Bulkley, climbing these steps to be met by his 3-year-old daughter, Ruth Bulkley Vanderburg. This was in 1922, just a few years before the doors of the mission opened, and it was the daily ritual as David came home from his work at the Helping Hand Institute. It was in this home that Beulah lay seriously ill after a miscarriage and serious hemorrhaging, and in this home that David proposed them moving to what is now the city market area to live among the poor. Beulah was anything but happy about this idea. She was even slightly pleased that the doctor said she needed surgery, hoping this health excuse would now stop what she called David's obsession to start a mission. But when David fell across her bed in tears because of his compulsion from God to start a mission, she promised to give her life to it if God would give her strength. She never had to have the surgery. It's here in front of the city market that our journey begins. In the early 1920s, this was the heart of Kansas City's Skid Row. The streets were lined with hopeless and homeless men drowning their sorrows with alcohol. And the flop houses, small cells with chicken wire walls, furnished with a mattress and a chamber pot. Reverend David Bulkley and his wife Beulah, the mission's founders, began reaching out to these men with an evening meal and chapel service in a building at 545 Main, which was just on the other side of Missouri Avenue, now under Independence Avenue and I-70. By 1926, women and children, hungry for food and spiritual support, were among the evening guests. To accommodate their growing congregation, the Bulkleys acquired leases for 537 to 539 Main and renovated the buildings to include a dining room for 375 people and a chapel to seat 600. The building also had a large room for Sunday school for poverty-stricken families living in the tenements and rundown homes of the North End and East Bottoms. In 1927, the mission leased the empty Madam Lovejoy Mansion, one of 3 so-called red light resorts at 4th and Wyandotte, and renamed it the Harbor. Flanked on either side by the Annie Chambers Mansion and Eva Prince's brothel, the 3-story stone house became home to the Bulkley family themselves and provided space for the mission's first dormitories for homeless men. 2 years later, the Bulkleys purchased Eva Prince's house next door for only $2,000 and the promise they'd never turn away any girl who needed help. Then in 1935, after building a Christian friendship with Annie Chambers, who came to know the Lord at age 92, she passed away at 92, leaving her deteriorating mansion to the mission as well. Soon the mission's footprint extended beyond the inner city. The Bulkleys purchased a 1,000-acre tract of land near Warsaw, Missouri in 1933 as a refuge for homeless men. Known as Opportunity Farm, the tranquil surroundings gave lost souls a place to work, pray, and find peace in their lives. In 1956, Opportunity Farm was formalized as an extension of the mission's Christian Life program for men. As part of this program still today, residents maintain the farm grounds while participating in our long-term life recovery curriculum. A campground for impoverished children from Kansas City's poorest neighborhoods was also added to the site in 1933. Each year, Camp Comcedo and Tot Lot provide week-long summer vacations filled with Christ-centered care and wholesome fun for 500 children ages 4 to 16. The Elks Club building at 7th and Grand was the mission's home in 1951. But just a decade later, the building could no longer accommodate this growing ministry. In 1960, the mission purchased both the Boys Club building at 1601 Admiral and a 4-story building at 7th and Wyandotte. The Wyandotte building housed dormitories, a chapel, and dining hall for homeless men. On the 3rd floor was a small radio station where then Mission Superintendent Morris Vanderburg began broadcasting the sights and sounds of City Union Mission. The administrative offices and family services department were located in the Boys Club building. The mission also opened a youth center there, as the facility had everything a child could dream of: a large gymnasium, bowling lanes, a trampoline, and an Olympic-sized swimming pool. For nearly 2 decades, and for hundreds of youngsters who were homeless or extremely poor, the center was a safe haven for after-school and weekend activities and a cherished escape from their troubled lives. You might recognize my next stop from the illuminated letters you can see from our downtown highways at night. It's home to our current men's emergency shelter, and it's where I began my work with the mission as a chapel volunteer back in 1977. The mission purchased this building, the former University of Missouri Dental College, on the corner of 10th and Troost in 1973. The building's renovation took several years, and when it was completed, the mission's headquarters and men's center moved in. The Family Services Department later relocated to the building as well. In the 1970s, the makeup of the homeless had begun to change from the lost and broken men of earlier years. Their faces were growing younger, and joining them at our doors were single women, mothers with children, and even entire families. In response, the mission opened Pilgrim House Family Shelter in 1976, and by the 1980s, we intensified our focus on this growing segment of the homeless population. My wife and I lived at Pilgrim House from 1979 to 81, while she served as the shelter manager. In 1983, the mission purchased the Banneker Grade School here at 1310 Wabash to house an expanded family shelter and enhanced family services. Now called the Family Center, the old building became a sanctuary and schoolhouse for hundreds of homeless families and single women. 2 wings were eventually added, and our ministry to the homeless became the largest in a 6-state area. Our original youth center had closed with the mission's move from the Boys Club building in 1977, so in the early 1990s, a 6,000 square foot addition was made to the Family Center to house our after-school and weekend recreation programs for youth. It opened as the Vanderburg Youth Center in 1993, and today it provides year-round activities like tutoring, sports, Bible studies, field trips, and more for area youngsters and homeless children in our family shelter. Just a few steps away is our New Life Center. This modern facility, completed in 2000, offers accommodations designed specifically for families participating in our long-term life recovery program. Here they have private sleeping rooms and common kitchen and living areas. Each year, safe shelter for hundreds of homeless women, children, and families, along with life-changing guidance, are provided from this Family Ministries campus. The end of this journey brings us back to the mission's administrative offices at 1100 East 11th Street. We moved here primarily because the numbers of homeless men had risen so drastically that we needed to make more space for them by moving many offices out. Right behind it is our men's center, which we visited earlier, and our newest facility, our Christian Life Center. This building was completed in 2008 and houses our Christ-centered recovery program for homeless men, offering comfortable sleeping rooms, classrooms, and meeting areas for life skills and adult education classes. In the center is an outside green space for recreation, Bible study, and prayer. Our men's center was renovated in 2009, expanding the kitchen area, sleeping rooms, shower facilities, and day room, allowing us to accommodate up to 300 men each night. I hope this journey through time has given you a broad and meaningful view of the role the mission and the Lord have played in the history of our community and in strengthening the fabric of our city. I invite you to join me in furthering the mission's work by supporting me as a participant in this year's Bikers with a Mission event. Funds raised from the pledges I secure will specifically benefit medical services at the mission. You can simply register your pledges online at bikerswithamission.org. Thank you, and God bless you.